Hey guys, it's me, the Amazing Gamer DJMC here with the final review to Spider-Man the Animated Series because I finally watched the final season. Now, I will say this though, season 5, I can understand why some people have hit or miss with it, especially with a certain storyline in the series, but it's not that bad. Plus, keep in mind, my first exposure to this show, I only had some episodes from season 1, most majority of season 3 besides the first episode, and then a couple from season 4. So I didn't know how long this show lasted for at the time because I wasn't born until in the year 2000. So I thank my family for getting some DVD versions of the show with some of the episodes so I can at least get into it. And if I'm being honest, I think my love for Spider-Man, for liking the character, mostly came from this cartoon and from the Raimi movie. Because keep in mind, I rewatched the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie constantly, both on DVD and VHS. Because at the time, VHS was still being popular at the time, before they moved to DVD and Blu-ray. But anyway, season 5, episode 1, the wedding. So we finally get to see Spider-Man get married to Mary Jane after 4 long seasons, because basically almost at the end of season 4, they got engaged. But the problem is, we also have the return of Harry Osborn as Green Goblin because he wants to stop the wedding because he wants to marry Mary Jane. So some more drama shit here and there, but Peter and MJ are officially Mr. and Mrs. Parker. Now, and that's just a standard episode. It's not part of a storyline or anything, but this is mostly about Peter's now life as a married person. At least halfway through the show. Episodes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are titled in a chapter called The Six Forgotten Warriors, which these are superheroes that I think are only exclusive to this show only because this is more based around Captain America, because not only that we see the return of Red Skull, but also we learn a little bit more about Captain America's history in this universe. But also, the storyline has something to do with Peter's parents, which, if you guys remember, during the first episode of season 3 of Doctor Strange, we get to see Peter's parents, well, sort of, but, magic and whatnot. Also, episode is the first one that shows Silver Sable, so this is her first appearance in the cartoon show. Her only other appearances in Spider-Man cartoon media is Spectacular and the 2017 Spider-Man cartoon show. How do I know this? Because I did watch one of the episodes of that show where it did the Superior Spider-Man saga. At least the start of it, a little bit. But otherwise, that was her only appearance. But Peter finds out that his parents were supposed to be traitor spies to Russia, but he wants to clear their name. So basically, that's what it does. Turns out the Red Skull has a son who is the commander of the Russian police department, and who in this universe becomes Electro. I'm not against unique character ideas, but why change the person who is Electro? I don't know. Let's see. Episodes 7 and 8 is a two-part titled The Return of Hydro Man, and this is where we're getting into some of the Clone Saga territory here, because Peter finds out that Mary Jane he's been with, who has returned since season 4, is not the real one. It's a clone, but not just a human clone, also a little bit of clone of Hydro Man. But the problem is, with the clone having the memories of the original, she only has eyes for Peter Parker. I say part 2 is mostly sad because Peter loses MJ again to the point where he doesn't know what to do anymore. And I empathize for Peter in this series. Especially in this season. This is like tearjerker to Peter Parker here. Let's see. Episodes 9, 10, and 11 are a three-part storyline of a popular Marvel comic that we're all familiar with, the Secret Wars. So for other characters that appear in here, we do have the return of Captain America because the Beyonder chooses the Red Skull to fight on the evil side. So the bad guys, the heroes have to face, you have Doctor Doom, Alistair Smythe, Doctor Octopus, Red Skull. As for the heroes, Madeline and Beyonder test Spider-Man to see if he can be a good leader for a special mission, which that was teased back in most majority of season 3. And then she makes a return appearance to recruit him at the end of part 2 of Return of Hydro Man. Oh, I forgot to mention, we also got Lizard, but at the end of this episode, Lizard is now on Spider-Man's side thanks to the help of Storm from the X-Men, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Captain America. Now, if anyone asks, is the Fantastic Four like the same one from the 90s cartoon? I would like to say yes, and technically no, maybe, because, well, Spider-Man has heard of them, but this show's technically showing his first time interacting with them, because otherwise you think they would be familiar with Spider-Man. But, yeah, so what Mr. Fantastic did was he unlocked the dormant mind of the human mind for Dr. Carnage so that way he can have full control of the Lizard. So for the first time ever during this 3-part storyline, the Lizard, or Dr. Kirk Carnage, has finally got control of his body in the Lizard form. Part 2, Black Cat makes the appearance in this episode as well. She's basically part of this storyline. Now, before anyone asks, I think I heard a lot of people saying they did not like the Secret Wars storyline in the comics, especially how we all know in the comic book version, the Secret Wars comic is where Spider-Man gets the black suit, but they decided to do it coming from outer space at the beginning of the show, which I understand, but it's not that bad of a storyline. And plus, it does have some of the characters who do appear in the comic. Besides Spider-Man, you have Lizard, because he was in the comic book version. Captain America, Iron Man, and the Fantastic Four, and one of the X-Men. In the Secret War comic book, there was a lot more of the X-Men members, but I think because of, at the time, they weren't sure they were going to be continuing the show, they decided to only use one of the X-Men, which, understandable. I do like this version of Secret Wars because, believe it or not, this is my first exposure to the storyline before I read the actual comic book. I didn't wait until I checked it out at my local library until years later. Now, do I prefer the comic version? Yes, but I still like the version we got from the cartoon show. So, like, it could have been better, yes, but it's not that bad. Like, it's not worse. I do like that Black Cat was included in the version of it because at the time, Spider-Man was the only solo hero at the time that joined accidentally. Let's see. Part 3, basically, Doctor Doom steals Beyonder's powers, but of course Spider-Man stops him, as he always does. We do see Ben Grimm somewhat get his human form again, because, actually, that's another thing I want to point out. The guy who created the Secret War comic book, he sadly passed away. I don't know if people know this, but if they do, R.I.P. Sorry if I don't remember the name. Please don't be mad at me. But anyway, during the whole Secret War event in the comics and now in the show, well, in the show, Doctor Doom turned Ben back to human, but he could control it with a device. But in the comic, there were rare times where Ben transformed back to human, then back to the Thing. Now, technically, this is basically the Clone Saga in a 2-parter. Season 5, Episode 12, which this is still part of the Secret War chapter, but they changed it to Spider Wars. Pun intended. But anyway, chapter 4 of it is titled I Really, Really Hate Clones, which is a nod to Spider-Carnage because Spider-Man meets multiple versions of himself. So this is the first ever Spider-Verse event we got. But anyway, so basically Christopher Daniel Barnes voiced basically 7 different versions of the Spider-Man he plays as. Yes, he also did the voice for Spider-Carnage in the show. but he voices the main one we've been following since the series started out. He voiced a version of Spider-Man that still has the mutation problems because we do see six-armed Spider-Man. That's also a nod to a What If comic. What if Peter kept his six extra arms or four extra arms? A version of him that has Doc Ock's arms. Let me know in the comments, has that ever happened from the design we see in the show? Please let me know in the comments, please and thank you. Of course we have Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider in this episode. And then we get a version of Peter Parker who wears a spider armor, but we don't find out that until we go to his universe in the final chapter, which is labeled Farewell to Spider-Man. Or Farewell Spider-Man. But anyway, they do stop Spider-Carnage in part 2 a little bit to destroy his own universe with Ben Reilly, because otherwise everybody's universes are gonna get deleted. But then Spider-Carnage goes to Witch Jerk Spider-Man's universe, because Spider-Armor Peter is kind of a cocky bastard. But anyway, also, it's also when Peter sees in the armor billionaire version of himself's universe that people love him as Spider-Man, but also he's engaged to Gwen Stacy. That's right, she makes a appearance until the end of this episode. Crazy. But he convinces Spider-Carnage to stop, well, with a little help from Uncle Ben. See, the clone appears just a little off balance because sadly in Ben Reilly's universe, Peter lost Aunt May. So that kind of unbalanced Peter a little bit. In which we can technically see that, which I gotta say this though. If there was a reward Oscar for best voice acting, Yuri Lowenthal and Christian Daniel Barnes should deserve a award or an Emmy because of their incredible voice acting as their interpretations of Spider-Man. I would say Insomniac Spider-Man and Christian Daniel Barnes' version would get along pretty well, actually. But, yeah, so basically in the Spider-Armor universe, Peter's Uncle Ben is still alive, and he uses Uncle Ben to help Spider-Carnage to bring back to his old self, which it does work, but the Carnage symbiote was just too bonded to his hatred, it wouldn't let him go. So Spider-Carnage sacrifices himself to save the multiverse. And Peter can't feel but sorry for him, which is understandable. That version of him went through so much, he went against everything he fought for. And this is where the series gets even more crazy. Madam does send Peter... Oh, I forgot to mention, there was also another version of Spider-Man, but it's actually the actor who plays him on TV in the show's universe. He gets sent there, and for the first time ever, Spider-Man meets his creator, Stan Lee. So we get a Stan Lee cameo until the end of the show, which I think is cool. Stan Lee has appeared in other Spider-Man shows, actually. Now, which ones has he appeared in? I think this is the first one. Yeah, because he never appeared in the 60s or 70s, 80s cartoons. He appeared in this one. Not in Unlimited. He appeared in... Actually, he voiced as a character in Spider-Man, the new anime series, which I will get to when I do another review on that show. I think I could do a better one. And at the end of it, Madam Web tells him we're off to find the real Mary Jane, in which we know from X-Men 97, from the first season, episode 10, because we see Spider-Man is swinging through the city while Magneto's doing the whole amplifying his powers from the magnetic shift from the North or South Pole. Let me know in the comments. But it wasn't until the season 1 finale of X-Men 97 we do see Peter out of costume, but also next to Mary Jane. Now, that show shows Peter does find Mary Jane, but we need to know how. That's why Marvel is now doing a 4-issue comic book miniseries titled Spider-Man 94 to show that. Which I will be reviewing that series when it comes out digitally, or if not, I'll get a physical copy. Either way, I will do a review on that comic book series, because might as well until either Godzilla Mendoza does a continuation on his end by making more issues. Anyway, I say season 5 is. I'm gonna give it 8.5 because I've heard people say about the Six Forgotten Warriors they did not like the storyline as much, which I can understand why, but it's not that bad. But I think they had to use original character superheroes for this show because, well, I think Marvel did have the rights to use Captain America at the time. I don't think they have the right to use the Howling Commandos. Let me know if those are the guys that team up with Cap during his comics. But anyway, I recommend watching the series from beginning to end. This is one of the best interpretations of Spider-Man that we got. And like I said, I'll be doing this with Unlimited, the Raimi movies. Well, the first Raimi movie, then Spider-Man, the new anime series, uh, Spectacular Spider-Man seasons 1 and 2, and the TASM movies, MCU Spider-Man Home Trilogy, and the Spider-Verse movies, including the Spider-Within short film. And then season 1 of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I will do a review on that show's second and first season when we get them. We are getting season 2 next year because we got season 1 from this year. Anyway, Spider-Man the Anime Series is a great cartoon. I recommend for people to show this to old fans or to their kids. Like I said, this series is amazing. Anyway, there you go. Bye.